Hello, everyone, and welcome to Africa Fire Mission's weekly virtual training session. My name is Mike, and I'm the programs director here at Africa Fire Mission. We're so happy that you took time out of your busy schedules to join us for today's virtual training. Today, we're joined by Samuel Owino. Sam does a bunch of water rescue work and training in Kenya. We're excited to have him here joining us today to lead us in today's class, where we're going to be talking about flood response for first responders. It's a really important topic. Puts first responders in a lot of danger. Of course, a lot of you guys are facing these hazards when the rainy season comes and you've got some of these excessive rains and things that we've been seeing a lot more of lately. So we'll get into that training in just a couple minutes here. First, let me go over just a couple of administrative items. If you stick around for at least 70% of today's training, which is usually about 40 or 45 minutes, you'll receive a certificate of attendance for today's training. If you can't stick around or your network gets cut off, some sort of an issue, head on over to our webpage, www.africafiremission.org. There's a bunch of great free resources there. If you go to the resources tab and click on training materials, you'll find a link down below to the 2025 virtual training sessions, where you'll be able to find a recording of today's training, as well as all the other trainings that we've done so far this year. If you watch the video recording of that training and answer a few questions to let me know that you sat through the whole class and that you learned something from it, I can get you a certificate of attendance for that training as well. So I'd encourage you to check that out. These videos premiere every morning, 8 a.m. East Africa time, every Friday. So you'll be able to catch that recording when it premieres there later on this week. I think at this point in time, let me remind you, at the top of the hour, we're going to transition into our tea time. Tea time is a time where you can ask questions about today's training session, or you can just network with other firefighters from throughout Africa. It's a great time if you've got the time and the bundles to stick around for that. I would invite you to stick around for that as well. At this point in time, if Samuel's ready, we're going to pass things over to him to get started with today's training session.
Hello, everyone. So I want to share my screen. Oh. Just a moment. Okay, yeah. So hello, everyone. Hope you can get me.
We've
Am
got
I
you looking
clear?
good. Yep.
Yes. I want to be a bit quick because currently it's a lot because what I wanted to talk about is specifically for flood response. We have flood response, we have flood preparedness, and we also have flood mitigation. So there's a lot that we have to discuss on floods. So today I will take you about the evacuation, research, rescue, and also part of it, drowning. So our objective is just to equip participants with the knowledge and prepare and practical skills for flood response, and prepare communities for flood risk, enhance coordination during flood emergencies, understand flood hazards and responder responsibilities, learn safe evacuation procedures, and also master search and rescue operations during floods. And this will also help us also to identify and respond to drowning incidences. So those are the things that you want to see. So in the introduction of the flood response, we have to also identify what are these kind of floods, what are the types of floods. We have flash floods, we have river floods, we have urban flooding. So currently for Kisumu, we currently have the river floods and also the flash floods. Nairobi recently, maybe the other year, they had the urban flooding, which maybe was currently maybe the first time that was high intensive. Then the impact of floods is also always cause the displacement and infrastructure damage, and also can cause also health risk. Then we have the causes, maybe it can be it can be cause of maybe heavy rains or poor drainages. Also, the urban flooding mostly being caused by the poor drainages within Kenya. Then, and also at times maybe damage failure. At times, there's a time that we had an incident in Kenya where one of the dams collapsed, and there was a failure for that dam because the capacity could hold the kind of the water, because the capacity could hold. Then in also flooding, we also have to understand the aspect of early warning systems, early warning and preparedness. So in early warning preparedness, you always being given every now and then an understanding where the alerts that in Kenya, we have an organization called Kenya Meteorological Department that always give us that update, the early warning system, that it will rain, we'll have not too much rain. Maybe in Mombasa, we'll have that kind of high waves. So they always give us this kind of knowledge. Evacuation plans and emergency kits. So we have to also understand how do we evacuate, and how do we have, what are our emergency kits? What does it need to have an emergency kit? And in these kits, what do we need to require to have? Then also community preparedness and strategies. Because we are the one people to respond to the community. We are the people, the responders who support the community in terms of floods. So we have to also see how is the community prepared. Then flood response actions. We also understand during and after flooding, what are the actions that we're supposed to take? The search and rescue basics. We have to also understand that one. The coordination with the Red Cross, with the response teams such as Red Cross, police, NYS, the safety measures, avoiding floodwaters, and power hazards. So, for example, we also have the first aid and health risk. Like in the picture, you could see kind of people actually responding to floods, but this was kind of a training that we were undertaking with the NYS. So these are kind of the things that we do. So we also undertake the treating injuries, cuts, fractures, because someone can be also get injured. Maybe someone can also be getting cold after getting out of the water. Can also have diseases like waterborne diseases like cholera, typhoid, that can also come in case of such kind of challenges. Then we also have psychological first aid. Probably this is another aspect for some of the organizations like Kenya Red Cross, what they really does. Then the community engagement, we educate the community on flood risk, identifying the vulnerable groups. Most of the vulnerable groups, in my aspect, we have been having the children who are maybe pregnant mothers, maybe the elderly. We see pictures to just see this kind of challenges that we have, and identifying this kind of vulnerable groups. Then the role of the community-based disaster management committees. This is an aspect that we are supposed to have disaster committees within our area, so within our regions, so within our counties. Then equipment and logistics, that should be in hand, where we identify the use of the life jackets, or which kind of organization that will give us ropes, radios, which organization will give us boats, which organization can support us. Then stockpiling, and essential supplies, and also establishing coordination centers where we collaborate with all the stakeholders in responding. This is a stakeholder will supply this kind, maybe like jackets. These stakeholders will bring vehicle for assisting in evacuation. So that's how it is. Then maybe we can have, after training on with the theory, we always have the theory and the practical. After the theory, you always have the practicals, and maybe having a case studies and simulations, like maybe in the review of the past flood response in the Budalangi, that's in Busia, Kanu Plains, that's now in Kisumu, where we have in River Nyando bursting. We can also have the mock drills and role play exercises to undertake or to see how quick and how we can respond. Then we can have simulation evaluation of every exercise that we have done, and also it can also help us in our responses. Expected outcomes, we have to improve the community effectiveness, effective emergency response, then local first responders. So community first responders. So these are these are the two themes. The number one person who is responding is always the community. So we have to see how are they ready and how can we get maybe available resources from them and also from their first responders. So they have to also be trained so that we can undertake the kind of equipments and the kind of skills that we may undertake in rescuing or in response. Then flood risk and hazards. We have fast rising water. We have fast rising water, so you have to also know this kind of risk. Strong currents, current the one that is in the Indian Ocean, also in the Lake Victoria is there. Then debris in water, and also down power lines, and also structured collapse risk. So these are the risks mostly come up with floods. Then so safety first. Always assess the scene for hazard. Always before undertaking any kind of operations or response. Use personal protective equipment and also use these kind of the PFDs, helmets, and gloves, and also avoid diving. Avoid diving through flooded water roads. Turn around. So don't just say that now you want to respond, someone is trapped, that you want to jump inside the water. So please, we request you so that you can avoid that. So the PFDs, these are just the personal flotation or devices that we use in heavy floating. So we'll see them during equipments. Evacuation procedures. So we have coordinated with the local authorities. The local authorities, we have the county commissioner who is under the chiefs, the area chiefs, who are others in Kenya. We also have the Coast Guards. We have the Kenya Red Cross also come as an organization partnering and supporting the aqua rescue. Then we have the St. John's ambulance coming in. Then us as the firefighters, we are also giving that kind of service, meaning that most of us, we are the one having most of the equipment like the rescue lines, the throw bags, the life jackets. Then in Kisumu, the Coast Guard will support us with the boat. Kenya Red Cross will support us, being that they have an aqua response team, bring that I'm among them. The National Youth Service also will assist us with the personnel and also helping us with their trucks in ferrying those who have been evacuated from highly flooded area to in highly safe zones. Then Kenya Wildlife always come in handy in assisting us maybe with their helicopter or chopper in rescuing people from who are trapped in trees or in roofs where they are flooded. So chief, probably the area chief, that the local leaders who will always partner with every time. Then prioritize the vulnerable population and elderly. As you can see in this picture, see children, we see we have pregnant women, we have the elderly. This one is the elderly. We have, so these are the vulnerable group. It's not everyone that we evacuate. So it also depends with the maximum and the capacity that you can evacuate at that particular time. Because this time that we were doing this kind of rescue, it was around evening, 16:00 hours Kenya time. So it has to take such kind of challenge. Then The use of boats, high clearance vehicles, or helicopters if necessary. So, like this is one of our firefighters hanging from the Kenya Wildlife chopper. So, and one of our firefighters is assisting in propelling or paddling the boats, going to rescue a community. Then always mark evacuated buildings to avoid duplication. So that we can get and ensure that our resources are maximally used and not maybe duplication or repeating of energy where we are supposed to divide that kind of energy in rescuing or in helping other communities. So we have to mark every place that we have evacuated, every home, every house, maybe every building. So this will help us to maybe not to repeat again all the other things because we'll be working in teams as we'll be seeing in our next slide. So search and rescue, the SAR, I know most of the people when I say, they always say that SAR is only for the collapsed building. Also SAR also works within the flood response. So the grid-based search pattern in water and on land. So we use also the thermal imaging and drones when available, then work in teams and maintain communication, then account for all evacuees and log findings. So that will assist in that kind of data collection. So this is just a use of drone on how we can use it. This is maybe the drones will help us, being that they will go much higher to enable us to see those people mostly who are trapped and we can rescue them. So those can also provide the aerial view of flooded areas, while the thermal imaging can also help locate individuals on pinpoint areas with moisture damage. Also, we have to also work in teams and maintain the communication. As you can see in this picture, we have different kind of teams. There's a team that's working on the boat. There's a team that's loading fuel from the boat to the truck or the land cruiser. There's a team that's working with the chopper, and there's a team that's physically working in water, going to rescue the kids and maybe the elderly. So we also maintain the communication between all the teams. Maybe, for example, the one working in water cannot continue. He has to call the chopper maybe to assist in rescuing, or also or the boat in rescuing. So we have to maintain the communication. Safe and effective water rescue operations depend on proper training. That's number one, proper training. Two, equipment. So we have to make sure that we have been trained. Currently, we are doing the kind of theory training, but also practical is also a key so that we can familiarize us with the water, the temperature, and so on. The equipment, we have to undertake and to see that which kind of organization has got equipment mapping, and also stakeholders support. Then pre-planning. This is always the key. Before executing any kind of response, let's make sure that we have done our pre-plan. So now let's go to ship water orientation, lesson 1. So the ship water mostly refers to the fast-moving water traveling in a linear or a direction. So this can be a river, canal, or flood water. So as you can see, this kind of picture, you can see where the downstream is, and you can see where the river center is. So the upstream and also the direction of the current. So the river always has the 4 sides. In the ship water, you also have the 4 parts or 4 areas. Downstream, upstream, river left, river right. So we have to, as we make our communication, so we have to identify those kind of areas. So they are called 4 river references related to facing downstream. So in the actual river, you can also see there are also that is the site reference. So you can, as you make your communication or as you give your information, you have to be specific and give this kind of information. So basic characteristics of moving water. So the moving water mostly is always powerful, maybe relentless, not lessening in the severity or the intensity. Unpredictable. At times, you may see the water slowly there. Sometimes it may come, maybe the intensity of its speed may increase as times continues. So this is another part of, sorry for that. Sorry. This is another part that we also have to see. What is always the dynamics? So what is always fastest at the surface and the midstream, and in the middle, and what also always slow down along the banks? It's always slow, it slows down. Then what is faster at the outside of the bends and slower on the inside of the bend. So these are the kind of dynamics that we have to understand and also get a knowledge to. Then water slows down and depends in front of dams and other obstruction. So we'll see that one. For example, this is an obstruction, this is a rock obstruction, and there's a pillar above. So meaning that the water will be coming, there will be too much water, the water will rise in the where they will be having the obstruction. So we'll be having a swelling on the surface, which caused by the underwater obstruction. And obstruction is usually just beneath the surface. The water flows around the obstacle, can flow around the obstacle and reverse direction to flow upstream. So, for example, most of the bodies or most of the carcass, maybe we say that someone is drowned, most of the time, that person drowned may be near that kind of rock where we have the water reversing. So, because it will go circular, forming a hole, so it may be trapped near that kind of obstacle. So as we always do our recoveries, we also have to be careful as we do such kind of rescue. So lesson 2, hazard awareness. So we have to also take and to understand what kind of hazard are before us. So natural and man-made hazard are an ever-present threat to the victim and rescuer. So drowning, sorry, there can be drowning, entrampment, maybe your leg can be trapped and so kind. Maybe there's a trauma and also hypothermia. Maybe it's too much cold, the temperature, water temperature is too cold for the victim. So we have to see and to see how best can we give this person a first aid, or maybe how can we take those kind of precautions so that cannot risk our lives. Shift water hazards. We have debris. Debris, this can be top floating debris, suspended debris, or bottom debris. So they can be up above the water, or middle, or bottom. We can also have fixed obstacles like the rocks, bridge embankments, like this one mostly where we respond to floods, they're always there. Strainers, for example, the barbed wire, tree limbs, branches, long jumps, and things. So the barbed wire has really affected us, being that we always use the inflatable boats. So the barbed wire always tire our inflatable boats that we always use. So other hazards are slippery surfaces, difficulty topography, environment condition, weather, cold, then biohazard like flood waters, runoff from the agriculture products, those kind of chemicals. So always know your area and pre-plan. You cannot say that maybe someone from Nairobi or from Kenya, you are going to Uganda to respond to our floods. but you don't know how the area is. So we have to use a local responder within that area to identify such kind of place. Lesson 3, pre-planning and equipment. So we have pre-planning. This is always the key to safe and effective water rescue operation. Pre-planning saves life, save time, and save life. So anytime before we respond to floods, we have to ensure that we have done our pre-planning. Like currently we are doing aqua rescue trainings, both to our partners and to our stakeholders, so to undertake any kind of or prepare for any kind of rains eventually that may come. So this is written in red. So meaning that this kind of, we have to take this kind of precaution. Always consider the risk benefit analysis of every operation. So any kind of risk, if we are going to water, meaning that we are risking our life to save the life of others. So it's kind of a risk. It can be a risk and a benefit. It can also be a benefit. So we have to weigh to replanning. Accident site survey. So we have a record. We have to record wind, the depth, the velocity of river characteristics. So we also have to study that and also record it for our pre-planning. Also record the nature of the man-made hazard. Sorry. Also determine ability control the flow. So we have to also to see if you can divert the channel of the water or what can be done to reduce any kind of risk. Pre-planning in the sites like rivers, canals, flood control projects, then in flooded areas like flood control projects like irrigation schemes. Yeah, so you have to undergo, you have to see this kind of flood projects like the water ponds, the dams. So we have to also pre-plan having those in our consideration. Personal protective equipment, the PPE. So these are the ones that we are using. We have life jackets, we have the wetsuit, we have helmet, we have the throw bags, lights are there. So these are just to help us to protect us from the helmet. There's a penny, so we have to understand them. And the main thing that we are supposed must have is the personal flotation device that will be always guiding us at any given time. So when you are rescuing, make sure you have a life jacket and helmet, a wetsuit to keep you warm at any given time. The life jacket will help you to float. Then PPE for shipped water rescue. Just a minute. We have thermal protection that can be a wetsuit, so you have to make sure that you wear something that will keep you warm. The personal flotation devices with a knife and a whistle. So our life jackets must have a knife and a whistle to help us maybe to cut maybe logs or roots of the trees. Helmet, deep water rescue board, the one that the person carrying, and other food protection. So you can also have fins or mask or snorkel. So we also have the throw bags. Shift water team equipment. So this one for individual rescue. The one that I played was for individual rescuer. And this one can be over a team. A team can have a throw bags, throw line bags, a line gun, hearing and ear protection, tank line buoyant, multi-chamber inflatable boat, rope rescue equipment, or hardware, then communication equipment, additional personal flotation devices and helmets, and other specific equipment. So always use the same approach to swift water rescue. So let's aspect. Simple approach, adequate backup, and never take a chance, meaning that you have to stay sober and eliminate the beat the water attitude. So these are the kind of aspects that we are supposed to undertake. Simple approach, adequate backup. We have to never take any chances. Like if someone is not sober, so anytime that you are getting into water, we want to rescue or any kind of training, no one should enter the water if it is not sober. Because it may drag you, it may trap you, yeah, it may lead you maybe in drowning. So we also have to eliminate this kind of this time the beat the water attitude. So we also have to ensure that as we go to water, we don't have the negative attitude that that water is bad, maybe it's deep or it's cold now, I'm not getting, or you may discourage others, or that water is good, I can just rescue because it's just normal water like the one that I'm using. No. So you have to take all these kind of precautions. Pre-plan and train. Just a minute. Pre-plan and train with the proper equipment. The same approach ensures the highest level of safety. So this same approach, it has to stick to our mind. It has to stick in our operation. It has to stick in our planning. So lesson 4 on the fundamental rescue techniques. So the fundamental rescue techniques, these always go in handy with the equipment that we always use at any given time. Safe rescue techniques, we avoid this will help us to avoid the entrapment, maybe during aggressive maneuvers. As we do aggressive maneuvers, it will also help us in the body positioning in our head, like head first, swim up and over strainers, hazards, and dangers of foot entrapment in strong current. I know maybe some of us may not understand whatever we may be discussing, or because there's that kind of aspect of the practical aspect. There's that practical aspect that have to go in hand with this kind of trainings. So self-rescue techniques. So swimming in current or maybe defensive maneuvers, we have to also understand the body positioning. Like for example, our head must look up, our feet must also come up, our body will just lie flat as I will try to lift our legs up so that we can just flow with the moving water, so that we can conserve our energy. So you'll be moving with your back, face up, horizontally posture. When we do also our rescuing, when you're doing a victim rescue, we must do our scene assessment, safety first, evaluate risk and benefit, as I said earlier, victim contact, and also make attempt to talk with the victim. So you just make, you can ask the victim, can you swim? Can you hear me? Can you swim towards me? If we can swim, just ask him, can you swim towards me? Or you can throw him a throwback or a rope or a stick. You know, we see that in the later slides. So always choose the rescue method that provide the highest degree of effective while as a rescuer, never tie yourself or a victim to a rope when crossing moving water. Never tie a line cross the river perpendicular to the flow in hopes of catching a victim, and also never enter swift water wearing firefighter turnout on a bunker gear. But then one day we tried when we were called upon, and by that day we laid to rest our chief, the late chief. So it was at night and we had to respond. So we put on our bunker pants, our turnout. Immediately we went down the water because we thought the water was polluted. So it was so heavy and we couldn't do any kind of rescue. So it forced us to remove our turnout and do the rescue. So never enter water with a firefighter turnout. So remember, specialized in ice rescue suits are not designed for swift water. So we have to also consider that. And these are the kind of techniques that we'll be using on the swift water rescue, each with a pole or a rope, through a flotation device, go with a boat, go only as the last resort, and at 10 personnel only. So we'll discuss each one of them. Each method. Simple technique used when a victim just a minute. Because when a victim is close to the shore, makes use of any object that can be extended to the victim for them to pull. Can be a stick. As I said earlier, victim must be able to assist in the rescue holding on the object and extend to them. Maintain high degree of safety for the rescuer. So you can also reach with a tagline where, for example, there's a ring and there's a rope tied on it. Throwing method, this is where now we can throw. Is used when distance to a victim exceeds the ability to use the reach method. It's limited to distance throwing accuracy of the rescue. A victim must be able to assist in rescue by holding on to the object thrown to them. So they have to be able to hold the object that is thrown to them. So water rescue throw line bags. So this is how they look in physical nature. So water rescue throw line bags, this is the right way that you are supposed to hold it. You tie, make sure it's one of the thumb, one of the knots on the thumb. There's also the wrong way, because the wrong way meaning that it will fall out, or the throwback will go with water. It will fall out of easily fall out of your hands. Water rescue throw line bags. So this is how you can see the other person pulling back and is now stable his legs. The throwing bags are highly effective tool in swift water. So each tool to master but requires some practice. So the dynamic stay on the shore, stay on the move, also coach the victim, also communicate with the victim. So this is now how it is being thrown. The person there is trying to reach someone high fast. So you also have to be trained on this, and you also have to identify someone who is really strong and someone who can throw it very, very well. A row method. This method enables the rescuer to close the gap between the victim and the shore. So it incorporates use of the watercraft and allowing rescuer a safe approach to the victim. So maybe boats or inflatable boats that we mostly use nowadays. And currently I prefer the fiber boats that cannot be torn by the wire mesh and so on, being that the best boat that you can do within Kenya, in the Kenya water or the flood areas, is the fiber boat. Go method. I don't prefer most of our responders unless you are professional. Is where now you can go, but go should be the last resource. This requires a direct contact with the victim in water. It's always the last resort. then always places the rescuer in the greatest danger. So before making that kind of decision, you have to think twice. So go method is potentially always dangerous. So know your own capabilities, have a backup rescuer ready to assist, and also be prepared with the proper equipment like PFD, the thermal protection, helmet, yes, all those kind of equipments that will able to assist. Shallow water crossing. So we have three methods. We have single person, multiple person line, and multi-person page. So multi-person line is where you make a line of 6, 7, around 5, 6, 7 people holding hands and trying to rescue a victim. So this is kind of a stability of each person. So that kind of energy and the stability of each person helps you to rescue this one victim. A multi-person wedge is where you can have a V-shaped or a U-shaped to rescue a victim and drag him out, and you hold yourself together. Then two-line theta, where you rescue with a boat. You can rescue a boat. One end, there's a rescue line. The other end, there's also a rescue line. As you try to move the boat against the water flow. So rescue hand signals used where verbal communication is not effective. So, for example, the team leader should be always in the forefront to do this kind of rescue signals. Select good vantage point, use the whistle. So you have to select a place that you can be visible to your team members. So these are the kind of signs that we use. Raising your hands for happy emergency, also give the 3 long blasts on a whistle and wave a helmet or paddle. Just a minute. Okay. Direction. By showing your hand, you are giving the direction. Stop. Raising all both your elbows and forming a fist. Say stop. Okay. One. Okay. Signal. One hand up and one down to say that you are okay, or you can proceed with the. It's okay. You can proceed with the operations or response. At the length line, that they are, one, they are equally enough or they are slacking. So you can also show with the 2 hands down. Then you can shorten line, you can show tension, showing the way. Then you can be near the show. You can be near the show. You can be near the show. Maybe putting your hands at the back, mean that you from the front to back, that you are near the show. Then far from the show, place your hand a bit and showing that it's far. It's far. So maybe we can discuss this one now. Maybe as I almost done. So what can you see, or what kind of information are being given in picture 1? In picture 1, someone can. In picture 1, what can you see, or what can you understand by?
You guys can unmute if you'd like.
Someone can mute.
Direction. We've got somebody saying direction in the chat.
Yes, yeah, one is direction. Yes, true.
How about
Two,
number two? What do we see in number two?
let me go back to the slides, then you can confirm that all of us because of time.
Patting the top of the head. What do we get when we pat the top of the
Yeah,
head?
top of
Number
the
two,
head.
I think is telling them to come over. Oh, it's okay.
To come over. Or can you compare with this? Then let's go back to the exact picture. So two is come over, yes. Then three. Three is giving a, oh, yeah. I think I've passed it. So this is three, this one, this, yes. So near the shore, yeah. Then lastly, this one, everything. Number four.
Number four is a stop sign.
Number four is a stop sign. Correct. Good. Thank you. I have confirmed that. So so those are kind of skills that we are supposed also to know. So don't let your approach spell failure. So this can also help us maybe in other responses, or not only in floods. So failure to understand. So F will start failure. So F will stand for maybe failure to understand the moving water. We have not understand it. We have not understand the moving water. We just now want to get in and respond, but we have failed to understand it. So that's now we are going to the failure approach. Additional medical consideration. Maybe you have a condition that doesn't allow you, or when before getting to water, you have to take some medication before getting to water. Then adequate training in rescuing techniques. So you have to, for example, the kind of training that you have been doing on the aqua and water rescue, they seriously need protocols for all the responders that we have been training on the AFM. So you have to put that in consideration. Then lack of teamwork. If you lack teamwork, because maybe giving one instruction to one person who is in the water, or someone to hold the rope, and someone is in the water, we are holding the end of the rope. So teamwork has to be considered. Then underestimating the logistics. Like saying, no, we don't need a boat, or we don't need this kind of, or for example, the logistics aspect, maybe we need food or some snacks to give you kind of energy when you are in water. So those are kind of logistics that we have to undertake and also to see upon. So let's not underestimate any kind of logistics. Then recovery and rescue. So anytime that you are going to a rescue, know that it can be, most of the rescues that I've been doing, it was of the water, or on a river, or in a flood, can be a recovery, can be a rescue. A recovery is where someone died, you are now recovering that kind of boat. So you have to also put that kind of consideration. Your mental health is always a paramount, or you can be faced with such kind of trauma. Then we have to also master our equipment. So failure to master our equipment is planning to fail. So just talking a little about drowning prevention. Currently, we are celebrating drowning prevention this year, or 25th, July 25th. That's probably next month. And we were inviting everyone in Kisumu. I think Kenya Red Cross is also partnering with the other responders in Aqua. So drowning has been a critical issue also in these areas, in this region. Maybe it can be a flood, or it can be in a dam, or in a toilet, pit latrine. So those kind of drowning cases, so we have to find ways on dealing with them. So drowning prevention. So we have to ensure that the public is always aware before and always during floods. And also the barriers and signatures near flood zones, we have to put those kind of signages. This is collaboration with the disaster management and other partners like Kenya Red Cross. So use vest and a safety gear at any given time, maybe mostly when in a vessel or in a boat, anytime you are doing your rescue. Responding to a drowning incident, make sure that immediate rescue always pull the victim to safety. Then you can also begin CPR if they are unresponsive and start with the rescue threats. So you can also use AID if needed or maybe is available. Then you also can transfer to the EMS as soon as possible. You call for additional help, maybe for the ambulance. So I think trying to, oh, sorry. Post-rescue consideration. So at times, this kind of issues that always rise up, the medical treatment for the hypothermia injury shock, then you have to also document the documentation. So responding to that doesn't mean that you go into water. Other responders can remain at the shore, as others bring the other responders who are in the water can bring the casualty to the shore and being given the first aid to the responders who are not in the water. And also, it's always good to document. This documenting and reporting will also help us to see which are areas who are always prone to floods or which are areas at this risk of floods. Then the mental health and support for the victims and responders. So this is always a kind of maintenance to some of us. Then we also have to review the case study lessons, maybe the preview and how it always occurs in other regions or other areas. So we have to see the recent flood event and also discuss the challenges, what worked well, how can we improve. So I want us to watch this kind of video. I think like here, but let me open it maybe from another slide. Just a minute. This will guide us and to see. Those are the power lines that we have to be careful with. So any question? Any question? any question or any comment?
We didn't catch the video playing, but
Oh,
we are
sorry,
getting
sorry,
close to
sorry.
our time here, so we'll
Okay, sorry.
just stick around with the questions for just a minute or two here before we transition into our tea time. So if you do have a question, you can go ahead and unmute yourself or use the raise hand feature. Take just another minute or two here. We'll also take some questions as we transition over into our tea time.
Mhm. So,
Stop your sharing there, Samuel. Let me wrap up the formal portion of our training here. To say, man, that was a great training. Thank you, Samuel. I met Samuel a couple years ago. I think probably the first time I came working with Africa Fire Mission, and what a knowledgeable guy, and especially his dedication to these water rescue topics. That's awesome. I know that's a training that's much needed. We did have some questions in the chat about some practical training. So Samuel, it's up to you if you want to share your email address in the chat there. People can
yeah.
connect with you if they'd like to talk about doing some kind of a practical training on some of this. I think maybe you'd offered some of that in the past. So thanks to Samuel. What a great training. Thanks to all of you for joining us today. We don't take for granted that you're using your own time, a lot of you in your own bundles to be here. It's very much appreciated. If you know somebody else that would benefit from this training, please feel free to share that registration link. You can find that link on our webpage, www.africafiremission.org. Lots of great resources there. So please feel free to check out some of those resources and things like that. And they're all free for you to use. So that's all for today's training. Stick around if you have time as we move over into our tea time. And I hope to see everyone again next week. Thanks, everybody.